coming at you from St. Louis, Missouri in these United States, wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Let's see. So what we're going to do is, well, one thing is I'm trying my OBS setup, and I had run into trouble with it because of bandwidth problems in our semi-rural area. So if things are okay, please let me know in the comments. If audio and video is all smooth, it'd be good to know that. Or if it's not, let me know that. Unfortunately, it's not really easy to switch back to StreamYard once I've started on OBS. I don't know if there's a way to, is there a way to do that? I don't know. Anyway, hey, good. There's David and Lambda. All right, so see, that makes me nervous. Doing that. Okay, so yeah, let me know if the stream's okay or not. And what we're going to do fairly briefly is talk about some things that Heather's been doing. She has been putting some stuff out there, just not as much on our channel this last half of the year. So I wanted to share with you about that, so you can take a look at that if you'd like to see what she's been writing. And then the overall purpose, though, is to kind of brainstorm with you all about topics for us to cover together on the Mrs. RadLib series. If you don't know what we've done before, I recommend looking in the video description, and you will see the link to all the playlist that has Heather's garden tours as well as the shows we've done together. And I can see we're having problems. Look, it's dropping frames.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Okay, let's see.
Technical difficulties can really throw a wrench in things, can't they?
That's such a nightmare. Why?
Anyway.
I checked the bandwidth. It looked great.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Lower World
right.
Diaries. Hey, Lower World Diaries. Great channel. If you haven't watched Lower World Diaries, really recommend his channel. Okay, so thanks for letting us know. So first of all, let's share. Let's see if I can do this really fast. It's going to be clunky. I'm going to go to screen sharing. Sorry, I just realized what I wanted to do live, which was not the time to figure this out. Okay, Safari, there we go. Yeah, okay. This is kind of, okay, give me a sec. This is how the sausage is made, people. Okay, there we go. Oh, what do I need to do? Oh, I see. Sorry. I haven't been using OBS for half a year because of these problems, and so I'm forgetting how you do things.
You've been using a different way to stream your stuff.
Okay.
There we go.
That's more what I want. Sorry, awkward. So I will share this link with you. Not going to try to get all the edges just right. Okay, I will share this link with you in the live chat right now. These are articles that Heather's been writing for Intellectual Takeout, and we'll just review through real quick and see what she's been covering. Let's see, where's that link? Here we go, live chat. So there's her articles. JC says that to everyone. I don't think he knows anyone. I don't know. Maybe he knows all these people. Okay, so let's see. I'd like to be able to see the live chat. Let's put that there. Okay, yeah. So let's look at these real quick. Okay, so Heather's been writing articles for. It's showing newest first. It's in reverse order, I think.
Probably 5 months. I don't know.
Yeah, like 5 months.
Maybe something like that.
Yeah, so you've been putting out a little more than an article per month, I think, because you've got
only a
more than
couple.
5 articles here. So some of these topics should be pretty familiar with what we've covered on the Mrs. RadLib series, but she goes into some topics that we haven't really covered. For example, let's get this up on screen, teaching your child to read. So she talked about that. That's an area that is scary to a lot of people, and I think one of the benefits of your article is you take some of the fear out of it, right? Back to homeschool. This was just as we started the homeschooling year. Heather had some reflections on homeschooling. Let's see, the Trivium, the Foundation of Language Arts. Again, more about homeschooling. Yeah, I guess they particularly wanted you to kind of cover the homeschooling.
Yeah,
piece.
so they actually, if I may, just talk about how this all came about. I published an article through Old Glory Club, the beginning of or sometime in the winter, something like that. And Intellectual Takeout asked to republish it on their page,
Yeah.
and then reached out to me privately and asked if I would be willing to write, particularly on education. And so I said sure, and I started doing that. So they've given me kind of free reign to talk about homeschooling and in terms of philosophy as well as just how to. And so, what Stephen has up on the screen right now, I did an article on the Trivium and teaching the Trivium. Educating the Whole Child was actually talking about Charlotte Mason and her philosophy. And so just lots of different topics that pertain to homeschooling your children. But also, I kind of introduced myself by doing an article on homesteading and homeschooling, just to kind of talk about our lifestyle.
Wait a sec, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Sex is a community matter, so this
That
would
was
be
a little off topic, but
this
they
would be-
were
they were
game
pivotal.
for that.
this would be very close to our Sex and Society
Yes.
stream that we did in this series.
Exactly. Yes.
Some of the topics.
I
you
just
covered
took
there.
kind of a section from that and put it in article form, not the whole
Right.
thing.
Yeah. Why I love homeschooling our 8 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Homeschooling, the question of socialization. Again,
Yeah.
in our 2-part homeschooling stream, we particularly focused on addressing that because that's a concern that, at least in the U.S., I don't know.
It's
if
a
everywhere.
perennial concern.
In the U.S., they always bring that up.
Yeah, it's really.
We can't
crazy.
homeschool because we've got to give our children the great experience that we had at government schools. We would not want to deprive them of that. I've never quite understood
Right.
the logic there myself, but anyway, yeah, all the fun that we had at kids with the threat of mass school shootings, which are kind of new. But anyway,
Yeah.
so is this one you're heading on? Homesteading,
Yeah.
yeah. So you
Yeah.
used that.
So in April, I think was my first article. Back in
after the one that they
Yes.
started you with, which is going to be on the final page, I think.
Right.
Anyway, so this one actually is talking about combining homeschooling with, and really this is who is it, Charlotte Mason or whatever. It says some of these education thinkers tried to get away from the idea that education should be just sitting at a desk all the time,
Right.
and that there could be more to it.
Right.
And so it's very common, I would say, for homeschooling families to do the sort of reading, writing, arithmetic in roughly the first half of the day or something. And then the second half of the day, children can be involved with the life of the family,
Right.
which might mean farm work, might, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Getting involved and getting outside and doing things.
Right. Right.
So that's kind of where you're coming from with that. Right? And then I think finally, this is the one that Heather wrote for Old Glory Club. So of course it's emphasizing the American aspect of it. Thank you, Nomad. He says, "Merry Christmas, RadLib and family, and thanks for all the great work you have done this past year." Thank you, sir.
Thank
Nomad
you.
has been on the show a couple times this
Oh,
year.
fun. Okay.
Helping me cover. Most recently, we covered the state of the UK, the grim economic situation in the UK together. But we've covered some really cool stuff together.
Right.
Okay. So anyway, wanted to share that with you. That Heather's been working on that, so she hasn't been completely idle. Then I guess you wanted to make some comments about why we haven't done streams so much. I'm partially just being busy and disorganized on my part, but here, let me go back to this. Yeah, you wanted to talk a little bit about that? Go ahead.
Well, I think we may have shared something about this at the time, but I lost my father in April.
We did talk about that.
Yeah, we did talk about that briefly. And I think I just kind of needed to take some time to just recover from that. There were 2 trips to Seattle to when he was dying, and then to recover his ashes. And um, you know, my father was sick with alcoholism and had been homeless for the past 20 years, and but that didn't make it any, his the loss any easier for me. So
Yeah.
I just needed to take some time, and I had some, I guess, exhaustion related to grieving and things like that. So anyway, just kind of taking a few months to just focus on myself, and focus on the farm, and focus on homeschooling the kids, and all that. So
So here comes the brainstorm part. I'm big into brainstorming. It's something I lead at work frequently. I like getting everybody into the mood. It's a little bit, good brainstorming is a little bit like improv, which I've never done, but my brother did. And one of the things about improv is they have this philosophy called yes and. That is, whatever somebody does, you figure out how to roll with it, incorporate it, make a joke about it. You know, you do, like, you're building off each other in a positive way, right? So similarly, in a brainstorming session, the point is not to figure out about which ideas are bad. The idea is to just get a lot of ideas out there,
right.
and think outside the box and come up with something fresh. So that is what I would like to do right now. We already have a list. We'll talk through some of those. Would really appreciate ideas in the comments. I mean, we've gotten good feedback on the streams we've done together, and I think here's my summary. You guys correct me if I'm not getting it right. Here's my summary of why we've what we have to offer. Why are we talking about some of these topics? We've been married for 20 years. We have
21.
21 years. I 20 plus. You didn't hear the plus.
You're
20
rounding.
plus years. We've been married for over 20 years. We have 8 children. We homeschool. That's sort of all interesting to people. That there's that experience there, right? And we've been through the shed. we have been through some hard things, and we've survived so far. And we've learned a lot, and grown spiritually, and learned how to do what is it? We can do hard things, right? We've learned that we can do hard things.
Yeah.
I think some people feel like, well, what if I get married and bad things happen? It's like, well,
bad things are going to happen.
Bad things are going to happen, and maybe with the Lord's help, you can get through it.
Right. I will say I have had this year quite a few people reach out to me privately to discuss courtship and things like that, and I just wanted to thank any of you who did that, and for number one, just trusting me enough to listen to you and give you feedback and things like that, and it's a challenging thing to try and navigate in the world that we live in these days. Courtship seems like an archaic thing, and I think the tendency can be to try to swing the pendulum way back, and to the point where it's like we have to do things this exact way, and otherwise
it becomes very stiff.
It can be a little right, and I think courtship is an organic process similar to any relationship. It's an organic process. So anyway, I have I guess I'm just feeling proud of those who have taken the risk to try and pair bond in a responsible way. I guess, for lack of a better phrase, and just having a desire to be married and just do things in a more traditional way, and I certainly I find being a mother and a wife to be a challenging thing, but it's also an extremely blessed vocation, and very sanctifying vocation, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So it's really a deep calling that I'm really thankful that God put that calling on my life.
And just to mention, this show comes with something that I don't think just about any of my friends offer, which is that the topics we raise, we have a forum for discussing them, which my wife is really attentive to. I think you felt like after your dad died, you got behind a little bit.
I did get behind, but I have to say,
but mostly you
yeah.
have tended to be very much participating.
Yeah, and I pop in and whatnot, and it's always a very there are lots of different discussions going on, lots of encouragement going on on that channel, and it's been a good thing. It's been a good
Yeah,
thing.
so this is actually on Lambda's server. Lambda's in the chat right now. And yeah, someone says, where would we be able to talk to Ms. Carson, actually.
Carson.
No Al Kinfrin. But yeah, it's on Lambda's server, and if you look in the video description on YouTube, then you will see a link to Lambda's server and the name of the channel to jump to once you get into his server.
I'm seeing a suggestion in the chat.
We have more than one suggestion. I'm jotting them down.
You wanna jump in and talk about some of these things?
Yeah, we have some to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Here, give me a sec. I want to make sure to write them down before we talk about them, otherwise I'll lose them.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I have to say, I am graduating 2 kids this year, and that feels really good.
2 teens.
2 teens from high school. You know, that's really amazing. And it's really, I'm really for the first time feeling that I don't have littles anymore.
Yeah,
like
because
our
our youngest, our twins are 8.
Yeah, they'll
8
be
and a half.
right, and so it's like, whoa, I don't have little kids anymore, and I have to say, I really miss it. I miss the babies. I'm seeing babies out every time we go out, and I'm like, oh, I want that, you know. So hopefully our kids will be growing up here and provide some grandchildren for me to cuddle and kiss and love on pretty soon.
and as I've mentioned, I never at any point stopped liking babies in my life. Whether I was single, married, had just had a baby, 8 years from having our last baby, I'm always like, Heather, look at that cute baby over there.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm getting baby fever from looking at other people's babies. And I just watched the funniest video of this lady, but she just had a baby and she's talking about getting baby fever from her baby.
And
I totally get it.
You experienced it.
Oh my gosh. After Judah was born, it was just this delightful home birth. And
Say the line.
What?
What you said.
No, what? What did I say?
You said holding Judah.
Oh.
You thought.
Oh, you know, and you know, this lovely postpartum period, and it was just really, really wonderful. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting baby fever from my baby. I want 10 more babies, right?
I thought you said 100.
No.
Oh, okay, 10.
No,
okay.
10. 10's enough, right? 10 more would be enough. Anyway, so yeah, we don't have littles anymore, and that feels really, really strange. So.
Okay, well, I want to come to the suggestions in a moment. Let's cover some of the stuff that we had, ideas we had already jotted down. And there's other ideas that Heather had that we didn't
I can't find it.
Follow up on them, and
Anyway.
we'll come back to them. But one thing we could bring back from the intellectual takeout writing you've done is to do a stream on homesteading.
Yes.
And I don't know what we want to focus on there, but I guess in my mind, one would be like benefits, like why bother?
Yeah.
You know, because as Academic Agent has pointed out, you're never going to beat the efficiency of mass. You know, the efficiency of the market.
Yeah.
And in your own carrots, you know, and you have the whole carrot debate and all this, right? But I don't know that the point is like, this is not an economic play, right?
This is not about efficiency.
Right. It's not
This
about
is a
economic efficiency.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
so hold that thought.
Okay.
We're just jotting things down.
I won't go into it
if we
right
end up
now.
actually doing these topics,
Then I can talk.
We'll be here on 8
Then
hours.
I can talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like benefits of homesteading, I think.
Yeah.
You know, we could call it, you know, we could get some kayfabe going with Academic Agent. You know, we're gonna crush Academic Agent's carrot.
Oh no.
You know, carrot take and anti-carrot take or something. You know. Another one you had mentioned was home management. What would that be? Give me a
there's a
of what that
couple
would be.
different ways we could go with that. I mean, are you talking about how we function as a couple in managing our home?
I'm not sure I'm ready for that. Functioning as a couple. Okay.
Well, there you go, folks.
In the home. What else?
Um.
What other ways would other?
Well, I think just in general, managing your home. I mean, I think that managing a home is kind of a lost art that women don't really know how to. Not just women, though.
I think we have a title. Heather.
The lost art of home
Home management. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
I mean, we were some. It got passed around on Twitter. I don't remember
mhm,
who the guy was or whatever, but he
yeah.
shared his. Why I forget why he was sharing it, but he
Hmm.
shared an image of all of his DoorDash,
Oh,
and he clearly was basically having all his food delivered to him,
oh, mm-hmm.
and everybody was like, "Wow,
The lost art
just
of cooking. How about that?
the sheer amount of money he was
Mm,
spending."
yeah. Mm-hmm.
As well
Mm-hmm.
as just, he sits at home and has food
Mm-hmm.
delivered to him, and that
Mm-hmm.
seems sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that brought that up.
Yeah. Well, we'll pray for Mr. Radlib here to be ready to talk about home management. Well,
Then
this is a
another
heavy
one.
topic. This
This,
is a heavy
this
topic.
is heavy. I was almost hesitant to even say the words in our wonderful Christmas stream, but part of the point in my mind of doing this together is that I feel like because of what we've been through together,
Mm-hmm.
we're fairly fearless and we can touch on things that people might
Mm-hmm.
tend to not think to or not dare to touch
Mm-hmm.
on. So,
Mm-hmm.
one topic I thought we might cover is spiritual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that, number one, I don't think a lot of people even understand what it means.
Right.
So we define it and we talk about. Well, I think in thinking about it, if you notice a tweet I made last week, um, I think there's a broader pattern. I think spiritual abuse is a particularly big problem. It has particularly bad consequences on the victims of spiritual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there is a broader pattern that we're learning about. And just to give a teaser, it's and to make a note in here, it's how lack of accountability leads to victim blaming.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of came as a shocker to me to see, um, someone be sort of the victim of bad behavior, and then somehow, some way, the victim ends up being the one on the hot seat.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's weird." And then eventually, I'm like, "Okay, there's a pattern here."
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm starting to think that it's inescapable. It's like one of these iron laws that if leaders do not take, if leaders are not accountable,
Mm-hmm.
then the victim will end up being gone after a second time.
Yeah.
There'll be victims once, and then there'll be victims again because they'll somehow get blamed for being victims or something. So that is a fascinating dynamic. It is something that has been known about. I remember when I was young, there was this phrase in Christian circles: Christians shoot their wounded,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't really understand what it meant, but I'm starting to get it. And in fact, I'll jot that phrase down in my notes here. So anyway, heavy stuff. Pray for us if we decide to take that topic on.
Yeah.
And we need to be, wise in what we say there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it needs to be talked about. And I think we can give some useful experience to some of our audience who I think some of them are going to end up being leaders and even spiritual leaders.
Yeah.
So it's a good time to inject some of this for them.
Okay.
This is one that's been really weighing on me. If you followed me on Twitter, you see me bring it up fairly regularly. Failure of family formation. Couples not getting together, failure to form a marriage, failure to keep the marriage together, failure to have children, the choice to have children, a choice to not have children. I described on Twitter, Heather, I don't know if I shared this with you, that I'm starting to picture it like a video game, where the first boss is, the boss being the big enemy at the end of the level, right? The first boss is, I don't know, I forget how I put it, but one of the bosses is just meeting anyone, and then one of the bosses is actually forming a relationship and courting, and another boss is actually getting married, and another boss is actually choosing to have children, and at each point, if you fail, then maybe you don't die, but your line dies. Right? You don't propagate,
Wow.
Darwinian death.
Are you going to suggest this gaming idea to your friends who do games? Wow.
Anyways, it's a topic that's I see people talking about it, and I feel like we could weigh in a bit on it. I'm not exactly sure what we'd have to say, but it's a topic I'd like to try to address.
Oh, wow. Here's a fun one. How to name your kids. Let me just tell you. From the moment I saw that second line on the pregnancy test, I was like, what am I going to name this child?
Yeah,
I don't know what it was about naming. When I was the teenager, or even, well, younger really, when I was younger and I had dolls, I would name all of my dolls. I would agonize over it. I had a little diary when I was like a tween, and I would write down their names in my best cursive lettering.
the names you had thought of.
Yes, for my dolls.
Name
And then
itself.
I thought, well, what would I name my children in the future? And of course, it was the 80s. So I was like, Melissa, Samantha, stuff like that.
Right.
Anyway, I don't know. Naming.
That's a fun topic.
Well, naming is a very powerful, important thing. I mean, man
Okay.
gave names to all the animals, right?
That's
The
right.
Bob Dylan song. If you guys don't know that Bob Dylan song, go look it up. Man
Yeah.
gave names to all the animals.
Yeah. It's
Naming
so
is
perfect.
very important in the Bible.
Yep.
Very, very important. So, and how to name your kids, that's a really fun one. I really like that idea. And parenting very young children. Wow.
Okay, that's under parenting topics.
It's so interesting. The thing that I hear so much from people about parenting, just in general, is that they don't have enough patience to be the parents of so many kids. And I'm like, neither do I, man.
Oh wait, so Lambda had said myths of parenting, I
Yeah.
believe. I'm going to put under that. I don't have
the patience. I seriously do not have the patience for it either. But again, we don't, develop patience by avoiding situations that require it. And having children definitely requires patience.
Okay, I'm going to cover a
So-
couple more we already had in here, and then start getting into some of the ones other ones that have been suggested. So another parenting topic: becoming new parents, and I jotted down what we wished we knew.
Oh yeah, gosh.
Right.
Look, wow.
So
Looking
basically, yeah, how can we help folks who are looking towards being parents? They're pregnant, whatever. What could we share with them that might help them a little bit in those first year or whatever? You know?
Yeah, don't panic.
Yeah, don't panic. Right.
Think Hitchhiker's Guide, don't panic.
And then, so I would see that as a slightly different thing than parenting very young children, right? So becoming new parents is basically, you've never had a baby before, and you're like freaking out. We can talk people through that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then parenting very young children is, okay, you've had the baby. Mom and baby survived. That's good.
Yeah.
And now the baby's 1 year old, half year old, 2 years old, toddler, and some stuff about that.
Yeah.
And then I think, Lambda suggested centering God within your relationship. Great topic.
That's a really good one.
And then let's see, or actually I'll use this guy right here. Okay. Oops. That's what I wanted. I wanted it to stay. Okay. So let's see. Video is a bit glitchy, David says. Okay,
Oh,
that's what
yeah.
I was afraid of.
I
Let's
know.
see.
Sorry, guys, if we're glitching.
Am I still dropping frames? No, this used to happen. It would drop frames at first and then it would stop. And now it's probably very smooth.
By the way,
based on the stats.
one of my little twins picked out this Christmas mug for me last Christmas. So
That's right.
I'm
That's
using
true.
it for my afternoon
Yeah.
cuppa.
Oh, yeah, and I'm wearing a very special tie that I almost never wear anymore. This is a tie that I bought in Italy, or was it Sicily?
Sicily.
Anyway, I don't remember. Was it Sicily or Italy?
I think it was
I
Sicily.
think
It was in
Sicily. It
Catania.
was when we were on a day trip. That's
Yeah.
right. So I bought this on our honeymoon in Sicily. So it had meaning to me for that. And also because it costs like 99 euros, which is nuts for a tie. I'm like, why did I spend that much? Anyway, and then
Because we were on our honeymoon, so why not?
and then I should have known better, but I had it dry cleaned.
Oh.
And ties never look the same after you dry clean them anyway. But then they pinned the ticket to the front of the tie.
Oh,
Safety pinned it through the front of the tie and then pressed the tie with the ticket on the front.
so bad.
And so there's this
Wow.
like holes and little wrinkly bit, but you can't see that. It's below the frame. So knowing that I'd be on camera, I decided that here's my time to pick out my special honeymoon tie.
All
Just for
right.
you guys. It's a nice tie,
It's
except
a
for
nice
what they
tie.
did to it.
Red is always good on camera.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it's Christmas. You can't see, but I've
Yeah.
got green pocket
Green
square,
pockets,
the red and green. Anyway, okay.
I feel like we're being old or something.
Okay, myths of parenting, we've got that down. We're literally just jotting ideas down. We're not going to discuss them right now. We're just noting them. Centering God within your relationships. Thanks, Lambda. And thanks again, Lambda, for hosting the Mrs. RadLib channel. That isn't just like, hey, I created a channel on my server and then that was the end of it. No, Lambda makes sure that the channel doesn't become it keeps it a positive place.
Absolutely. And
So it's more than just sticking a channel on
Black
there.
Horse
And Black
does
Horse
a
helps as
lot
well.
too for
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
which is, I feel very cared for and protected
Excellent.
by that channel.
Let's see. Okay. Another fun topic in right-wing circles from David Brady, who we got to meet recently, got to host. Pleasure to have him here. The benefits or lack thereof of college education in the modern world.
Oh, wow. That's
a
a
big
really
one.
good one. Oh, I think you just
And-
gave me my next article idea for intellectual takeout, you know, because I've got 3 kids who are already taking college classes right now.
Yeah.
So,
And of course, there's the big concern from people who are conservative, right wing, whatever, that you're just handing your children off to the enemy, you know?
right. Right. So,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, great topic. And I'm not saying we got it all figured out. But that's a good topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
The true social cost to homeschooling.
That's very interesting.
Do you follow
topic.
his suggestion there? I was wondering if we need to ask.
The social costs? Well, I guess I would like to understand more what you mean by social costs.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe you could spell
there
that
is-
out, Craig, please.
I mean, the thing that comes to mind is that kids are definitely socialized differently. By being homeschooled, they enter adulthood much more with much more maturity, you know. So.
Okay. Thoughts on feminism from Lambda?
I hate talking about feminism. I really do. I just hate it. I hated it in college before I was even a Christian.
Really?
I just thought these women are so loud and bitchy. And I just don't want to talk about it. Sorry if I offended anybody with that. I just have never been a feminist. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Okay.
Thoughts on feminism. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
There's the stream.
It might be feelings on feminism instead of thoughts. Merry Christmas to Scrump. Thank you, sir. He's Scrump humbly. He's a big content creator and works as an engineer or something. I forget what he does. And he humbly helps keep my Telegram chat from getting out of control and
how nice.
deletes the spammers and stuff. So I really appreciate that. How to raise children in a manner that protects them from the many evil influences of the world without sheltering them. Okay, can I copy and paste out of here? Okay, that's a long one, but it's a good one. Thank you, Kinfriend, for that one. Yes, this is a big issue because if all you do is just hermetically seal your children, at some point they will deal with the real world, or not the real world, but at some point they'll deal with the secular left-wing world, however you want to think about it. And if you've not been preparing them for that at all, you're just really you're not really preparing them for adulthood in our world, right?
Right.
So anyway, it's a great topic.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, I've got some thoughts to say on that.
Lambda says, I'd like a tutorial from RadLib, how to be a 21st century Chad who starts a based dynasty. Very, very nice, sir. Okay, let's see. Sorry, catching up. Salmiaki, blessing Salmiaki.
Hi.
Good to have you here. Yeah, okay, and we got that. Name your kids, other issues of parenting very young children. Got it.
While Stephen's looking for ideas, let me just share a couple blessings with you guys. One of the things, and maybe you guys saw this on one of the garden tours, is that we've been building a greenhouse and it's very slow going. My sister and I went in on this together. She bought a kit. And man, this has been the most challenging thing to assemble I've ever done. And I've built 2 goat houses, a horse shelter, and 2 chicken coops. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. But we're one step at a time, and with the goal being that I'll be able to grow food year round. And that is really, really exciting because I love eating the things that we're able to grow.
Okay, we've got parenting on the internet from Lambda, jotted down. Thank you. Craig says worst parenting trends.
Ooh,
that's interesting.
That might be fun.
That's a really good one. Yeah.
That might be fun.
I don't know. Do we know enough parents that are doing bad trends to?
Well, I think the worst parenting trend is this cry it out crap. But
that's true. and did we focus on that in one of our streams?
Yeah, we did a little bit, but I
Okay.
mean, wow,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, Salmiaki says, after the year I've had, yes, difficult year for you, Salmiaki, she says, I'd recommend parenting through crisis.
Ooh, yeah.
That's really good,
Yeah.
Salmiaki. I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Because you imagine, you got this picture that, ideally, you have some income coming in and you are together and you're raising your children and you're kind of focusing on raising your children, and you're not necessarily picturing before you get into marriage of life continuing to happen, right? You've just had a baby and someone has died,
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah. Life
it's-
continues to happen whether there's a crisis or not. Your kids still need to be fed.
Yeah. Still need to be
Dishes still
supported.
need to be
and-
done,
yeah.
and it can be really
And the
challenging
parents,
to know.
and we have a couple that's a friend of ours, just had major grief going on, and they're trying to figure out how to keep raising their children while
Yeah.
going through
Yeah,
some, being just almost immobilized with grief.
Mm-hmm.
A topic on specifically raising kids to be Christian. Yeah, and let me get some of your thoughts there. Both in having to take them to church, raising them to voluntarily and joyfully partake in Christian life and prayer. Okay, very good. Jotting down all these ideas so much.
And things are coming to mind as you guys are
I know.
sharing these
It's
ideas.
hard.
I have to
It's
maybe hold back a little
it's
bit.
prodding us.
Yeah,
To
that's
think
good.
of it. Okay, let's see. From Ace. Hello, Ace. Good to have you here. Lambda says, I've learned a lot from running that Discord. The days were very Wild West. Yeah. How to have a community that's a positive community. It's challenging. How to find like-minded parents who have kids that yours can be friends with.
Oh,
Some of these we might be able to kind of combine, like that to me has a lot to do with, at least in our case, that has a lot to do with that's kind of like a homeschooling topic,
yeah. And I've not been very good at that. I just want to confess to
You've
you all
had some
right
of it,
now.
though.
I
You've
have,
had some of it.
yeah.
We
I
can
just,
talk about the victories we've
I'm
had.
kind of an introvert, and so I don't like go seeking for friendships, and so that has been challenging for some of my children.
Okay. So here's Craig giving us more on this. So let me copy it, paste it, and read it out. Where do
right.
you see homeschooled children not match schooled children, whether perceived or real? How do they handle the real world where people don't act like they are used to seeing? Well, for one thing, anyway, it's hard not to actually discuss the topics.
I think some of these questions make an assumption that a lot of homeschoolers are really sheltering their kids a lot. And I don't, I mean, to some degree, of course, we've sheltered our kids, but we live in the world with them,
Yeah.
so.
They meet kids who
And
go to
I-
government schools and they're friends with them.
Right. And I don't tend to shy away. I basically have encouraged my kids that they can ask me anything. And if there's frustration, we slow down and we talk about things, so I don't know. Maybe that's the benefit of having a therapist for a mother, but I just, I don't know.
And then Craig adds on the true social costs of homeschooling. What are the perceived costs, and are they actually real?
Of homeschooling?
Yeah. Social costs.
Social costs. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
May Santa bring you gold bars for the financial apocalypse. Thank you, Sen of Sen's Fortress.
Wow.
Oh, this is interesting. Just reading this out. We won't go on forever here. I think we've got more than I asked for. This will book us through the rest of the year, all of 2024 and into 2025 if we cover.
Oh, you're going to share something, then I have something to say too.
Okay.
But anyway.
Seen a lot of women no longer claiming to be feminists, not in the sense that they became trad, but because they reject the 90s boss babe ideal. Either that or they trans out. Feminism is dead in a way. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. I see where I am in the chat. Did you want to say something?
Oh, well, this past year, we've had many opportunities to show hospitality to some people within this movement. And I just wanted to thank those who came to our farm. And if you've been to our home.
Some local folks and some others that are not local. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, if you've been to our farm, you know that we're just regular people. Okay. I mean, my house is not pristine by any means. We bought a fixer-upper farmhouse. We have half a new roof on it right now. Like it's just gonna sit that way. You know what I mean? Like but it's been so lovely being able to entertain people and show them around a little bit and kind of show them what we're up to, and really enjoyed some good conversations with people who've been able to stop by. So thank you all for that. Appreciate that.
Here's another one. I think. Trying to keep it all getting into my notes. Ken Friend says, how to raise kids in a manner that both identifies and cultivates their God-given gifts, while also making sure they are well-rounded men and women. Yeah, see, there's a few here that I bet we could bunch up and sort of raising kids and community for kids. And
teach your kids how to think.
Basically, cultivating your children like you cultivate a garden. Right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and then here's someone we can pray for. Ken Friend says there's a guy at church who has cancer and he has 8 kids.
Oh my goodness.
It's very hard for them, but fortunately the church has really helped them.
Oh wow.
All right, someone, a gentleman to pray for there, a family to pray for.
Definitely. We know of a family who they lost the father and there were 5 young boys. So
yes.
So terrible. Just so terrible.
Pastor. And then when joining a new church, what types of questions would you ask the pastor in order to determine if it would be traditional? And by the way, on some of these, we might consider bringing someone in on it, right? Usually it's just been you and me. But, you know, I don't know that we've never had Lambda come on. I mean, maybe that would be the sort of thing he could talk about. You know? Yeah. Okay, I think I've caught up with the chat and all these ideas, and we were not going to go on for hours today. Just get a nice list of topics, and boy, this is great. Thank you. Really huge list of topics. We feel like the Lord is bringing us through some hard things for a reason. It doesn't feel purposeless. I don't think Heather and I feel like we're just victims sitting there bewailing our fate or something like that, right? Life is difficult. Life is difficult, and we've been dealing with that. It's been very humbling for me. If you watch the opening video the intro video on my channel, that's the first video I put up, was how I was humbled and red-pilled about myself. So I guess my point is that if there's a point to this Mrs. RadLib series, it is to share our experience and what the Lord has been teaching us, so that we can benefit folks. We're very painfully aware, to some degree through our own experience, but also just seeing around us, that the chain of passing knowledge down has been greatly broken for many, many people, right? That there was, wisdom that used to be passed down, and the mothers taught their daughters how to be mothers, and fathers taught their sons how to be men and how to be fathers, right? And so for so many of us, that has been partially or just completely destroyed. We talk about the boomers a lot. I don't know if it's fair to put it all at their feet, but however it happened, a lot of us are feeling like we don't have the wisdom and the traditional practices that allow us to navigate what should be like basic fundamental aspects of life. Finding a mate,
running your home,
getting married, having children, running your home, nursing. I mean, there's all these things where Heather and I certainly have felt in many cases we've just had to figure it out. Right? Yeah. So I think the only way forward with all this is just to, as we each figure things out, we share it with each other, and we try to build our way back to some of this stuff that's been lost, right? I like nursing, very nice concrete example, right?
Breastfeeding your babies.
Yeah, breastfeeding your babies. There's just simple things that you had to learn the hard way. And no one taught you about them. Right?
Well, I mean, I did have support from other women.
At one time, your mothers and your aunts and stuff
would know all that.
Would just be like, oh yeah, here you go, dear. Here's how you. Oh yeah, you've got an infection. Here's how you deal with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? There's just literal knowledge that's being lost.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not getting handed down, you know.
Right.
So we're just gonna have to, we're gonna build it back up one way or another. Less painful to share it with each other and not have to learn everything the hard way, right?
Right.
That's sort of my view on
Right.
the Mrs. RadLib series. Let's not make everything hard.
Yeah.
Let's try to make things a little bit easier.
I just thank you, David, for saying that we have a nice home. We enjoyed having you.
Thank you.
And I have to say, sometimes spontaneous hospitality is the best kind. So you popped in and stayed overnight, and we were glad to have you, and to be a stop off on your way to school. So thanks for stopping by. Oh, and Madeline did receive your present.
Yes.
And she's not going to open it until Christmas, so it'll
Right.
go under the tree with everything else. Thank you.
Scarlett Ann says, just dropping in for my new job to say Merry Christmas to Mr. and Mrs. Carson and fellow travelers. Thank you. Selmiaki says, my husband used to call this era we live in the dark age of electric light.
Interesting.
So very
That's
nice.
interesting. Wow.
So anyway, we will stop for now. Thanks so much. I wasn't sure if we'd have enough people to get a good session going of
Yeah.
brainstorming topics,
y'all
but
for,
it worked out fabulously. So
Thanks for tuning in.
thanks for those who were able to jump in the live stream and help us out. And Merry Christmas to everyone. Blessings. Pray for your protection in every way, not just physical, right? But in some ways, what threatens us most deeply right now are spiritual things, I think. So pray for your protection, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually, that you would be blessed, and that you would hear the Lord's voice and respond when you hear his still small voice. So God bless everyone. And see you in the two of us will see you in the new year. I've got the art stream possibly next year, though we don't have very many entries. So we need more entries. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Let's see if this